You ever heard someone say that humans only use 10% of their brains? It's a statement that's been repeated in movies, books, and even classrooms. But where did this idea come from, and is there any truth to it? Today, we're diving deep into the origins and reality behind this popular myth. Let's start by exploring how this misconception took hold and why it continues to fascinate people around the world. The idea that we use only 10% of our brains has mysterious origins. Some believe it began in the early 20th century, possibly misattributed to psychologists like William James. Others think it was a misinterpretation of neurological research at the time. Regardless of its roots, the myth quickly spread, capturing the imagination of the public and fueling countless stories about unlocking hidden mental powers. Hollywood has played a big role in keeping the 10% brain myth alive. Movies and TV shows often feature characters who unlock extraordinary abilities by tapping into the unused parts of their brains. These stories are exciting and entertaining, but they're far from scientific fact. Let's look at how pop culture has shaped our beliefs about the brain. Modern neuroscience has thoroughly debunked the 10% myth. Brain imaging technologies like MRI and PET scans show that almost every part of the brain is active at different times, even when we're resting or sleeping. Scientists have found that our brains are constantly working, processing information, controlling movement, and managing emotions. There's no large, unused section just waiting to be unlocked. Let's talk about how scientists study the brain. Technologies like MRI and PET scans allow researchers to observe which areas are active during different tasks. These scans reveal that even simple activities like talking or reading engage multiple regions. This evidence makes it clear that we use far more than just 10% of our brains in daily life. Human brain is a complex organ made up of billions of neurons and trillions of connections. Each part of the brain has a specific function, from controlling movement to processing emotions and memories. Understanding this structure helps us appreciate just how much of our brain is at work every moment. Neurons are the brain's building blocks. These tiny cells communicate with each other through electrical and chemical signals, forming networks that control everything we do. Even when we're asleep, neurons are busy maintaining vital functions and consolidating memories. There's never a moment when our brains are truly off. Different regions of the brain handle different tasks. For example, the frontal lobe is involved in decision-making and planning, while the occipital lobe processes visual information. The brain's interconnectedness means that most activities require the cooperation of several regions, not just a small portion. Did you know that the brain uses about 20% of the body's energy, even though it only makes up about 2% of our weight? This high energy demand shows just how active our brains are, even when we're not consciously thinking about it. If we only use 10%, our energy needs would be much lower. Another way to debunk the 10% myth is by looking at brain injuries. Even small areas of brain damage can have major effects on movement, speech, or memory. This shows that every part of the brain is important, and there's no large, unused section that can be safely removed or ignored. Learning new skills or information involves many different brain regions working together. Memory formation, for example, requires the hippocampus, cortex, and other areas. This complex process further proves that our brains are constantly engaged, not sitting idle. Even simple daily activities like walking, talking, or eating require coordination between many brain regions. These tasks might seem automatic, but they're actually the result of complex neural processes happening behind the scenes. When we rest or sleep, our brains don't shut down. Instead, they remain active, consolidating memories, processing emotions, and preparing us for the next day. This ongoing activity is another reason why the 10% myth doesn't hold up. Our brains are incredibly adaptable, a quality known as neuroplasticity. This means that if one area is damaged, other regions can sometimes take over its functions. This adaptability is only possible because so much of the brain is active and interconnected. Part of the confusion comes from early brain research. In the past, scientists didn't fully understand what every part of the brain did, leading to the mistaken belief that some areas were unused. Today, we know that even regions once thought to be silent are active in ways we're still discovering. Why do myths like the 10% brain idea stick around? Myths are powerful because they're simple, memorable, and often offer hope for untapped potential. But believing in them can distract us from appreciating the real wonders of our brains. The brain is highly efficient, using its resources wisely. Rather than leaving large areas unused, it constantly reallocates energy and attention to where it's needed most. This efficiency is part of what makes the human brain so remarkable. Unfortunately, the 10% myth sometimes appears in educational materials. Teachers and students alike may repeat it without realizing it's false. Promoting accurate brain science helps everyone understand their true potential. Some companies use the 10% myth to sell brain training products, promising to unlock hidden abilities. While brain exercises can be helpful, there's no evidence that we have vast, unused mental reserves waiting to be tapped. The real potential of the brain lies in its ability to learn, adapt, and create. Rather than searching for unused sections, we should focus on nurturing our brains through education, healthy habits, and lifelong curiosity. Taking care of your brain is essential for overall well-being. Regular exercise, a balanced diet, enough sleep, and mental challenges all help keep your brain functioning at its best. There's no shortcut or secret section to unlock, just healthy habits. Our brains change throughout our lives. From childhood through old age, new connections form and old ones fade. This lifelong development is another sign that our brains are always active, always adapting. Creativity isn't about unlocking unused brainpower, it's about connecting ideas in new ways. Creative thinking involves many brain regions working together, proving once again that our brains are fully engaged when we're at our most imaginative. Emotions are processed by several interconnected brain regions, including the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. This complex network ensures that our feelings influence our thoughts and actions, further demonstrating the brain's constant activity. Every movement we make, from walking to waving, is controlled by the brain. The motor cortex, cerebellum, and other regions coordinate to ensure smooth, purposeful actions. This coordination is another example of how much of our brain is always in use. Our senses, sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, all rely on specialized brain regions. Processing sensory information is a complex task that involves much of the brain, not just a small portion. Language is another example of the brain's complexity. Speaking, listening, and understanding all require multiple regions to work together. This collaboration is essential for communication and further disproves the 10% myth. Problem-solving activates many areas of the brain, including those responsible for logic, memory, and creativity. This teamwork allows us to tackle challenges and come up with solutions, showing that our brains are always hard at work. Socializing is a complex activity that engages many brain regions. Understanding others' emotions, responding appropriately, and building relationships all require significant brainpower, further proving that we use much more than 10%. When we're stressed, the brain coordinates a response involving hormones, emotions, and physical reactions. This process involves the hypothalamus, amygdala, and other areas, showing that stress management is a whole brain activity. Making decisions, big or small, requires input from various brain regions. The prefrontal cortex in particular helps us weigh options and predict outcomes. This complex process is another example of the brain's full engagement. Paying attention is a dynamic process involving several brain networks. Whether you're focusing on a task or shifting your attention, your brain is constantly managing resources to help you stay on track. Habits are formed through repeated actions which strengthen connections in the brain. The basal ganglia, a group of structures deep in the brain, play a key role in habit formation. This ongoing process shows that our brains are always learning and adapting. Technology has given us new ways to study the brain, revealing just how active and complex it is. Tools like EEG, fMRI, and PET scans have shown that there's no dormant 90%. Our brains are busy, even when we're at rest. Imagination is a powerful mental tool engaging many brain regions at once. Whether you're daydreaming or inventing something new, your brain is hard at work, disproving the idea that most of it sits unused. When we multitask, the brain rapidly switches between tasks, activating different regions for each one. This flexibility is another sign of how much of our brain is in use, even if we're not always aware of it. Reflexes are quick, automatic responses that involve both the brain and spinal cord. Even these simple actions require coordination between multiple brain areas, showing that our brains are always on the job. As we age, our brains continue to change. While some abilities may decline, others can improve with experience and practice. Staying mentally active helps keep the brain healthy and engaged throughout life. Sleep is essential for brain health. During sleep, the brain processes memories, clears waste, and prepares for the next day. This vital activity proves that our brains are never truly idle. Good nutrition supports brain function. Nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals help maintain brain health and performance. Eating well is one of the best ways to support your brain's constant activity. Physical exercise isn't just good for the body, it's great for the brain too. Regular movement increases blood flow, supports new brain cell growth, and improves mood and memory. Staying active keeps your brain engaged. Using technology like smartphones and computers engages many brain regions. From problem-solving to social interaction, our brains are constantly adapting to new digital environments, showing their remarkable flexibility. Practicing mindfulness and meditation can change brain activity, improving focus and emotional regulation. These practices show that we can influence how our brains work, but not by unlocking unused areas, rather by strengthening existing connections. Lifelong learning keeps the brain active and healthy. Whether you're picking up a new skill or exploring a hobby, your brain is constantly forming new connections, proving that it's always in use. To wrap up, the idea that we only use 10% of our brains is a myth. Modern science shows that our brains are active, complex, and efficient, with every part playing a role in our daily lives. Instead of searching for hidden potential, let's celebrate the incredible abilities our brains already have and focus on keeping them healthy and engaged.